live, and now we are live, and now we are live, and now I hit
Now we're live.
record, and now we are live. Cool. How's it going, bud?
It's going good, going good.
It's like exactly 7. We've never been this on time in like 2 months.
We're on
So
esports time.
we're on esports time, so just casually late. Casually making people wait a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Enough to miss us a little.
Yeah.
Make them think, hey,
Where
where
are
are
these
those
guys?
guys? Then
Oh,
we
there
show
they
up, they're like,
are.
hey, what up? What
Oh,
up?
I love it. I love it.
hmm This is a podcast. We're recording a podcast today. Are you ready to start the podcast?
Have you seen my shirt
Oh
though?
man, that's
Guess who
cool.
this is? Guess who this is?
I I don't know.
Nick Cool launched some merch.
Ah!
It's great. I love this actually. It's
That's
fantastic.
amazing. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I really like it.
Oh,
So shout
I'm
out this super comfy like Nick Cool. He's a killer Warzone Facebook streamer,
I
friend
am
of ours.
jealous at how smart that is. Oh, it's
What? Just
simple.
cool?
Yeah,
Cool is the smartness?
absolutely. Because like, what these days do you have that is like short 4 letters, like and is new, like
And is
and is new, right?
okay.
Like you're not reinventing the wheel here with the word cool, but it's different, and it hasn't necessarily. I don't think, as far as I know, it hasn't been done before.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's his brand, and
Oh,
he's
so good.
even if he's not the first one there, I'm saying he's the best one. There we go.
Dang it, it's
There we
so
go.
good, man. Nick, you have a fan. You have a fan.
Yeah.
You got a fan in me. Cool. All right. Yeah.
Cool.
Dang it. Now every time I say cool, I'm gonna have to look over at that. You ruined me. You ruined me, Warzone man.
Let me just sit up a little straighter so
There
you
you
can
go.
see
Yeah.
that.
And today, like, I thought I was the cool one because I'm wearing like the Parabellum merch, and I'm like,
Mm,
but
yeah.
man, there's
Sorry,
also
man.
cool.
Sorry.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get going with the podcast. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Best of Three, a podcast made in esports. I'm Mike, and of course, joined by the one and only Alex Crispy Kim. Alex, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you doing still, just Mike?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit older.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
just had my birthday. My
And
birthday.
another pandemic birthday. How did
Another
you like it?
pandemic birthday. This is my second. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We didn't really do much last year, but like last year, 29. Like, what are you gonna do? That's whatever. It's a nothing year. Uh, Turned 30 this past weekend, and
Oh,
I didn't do
30,
anything, and that
30.
that felt worse. Like I feel like my 30th should be like a little bigger, like do something a little different, but no, we're still at home. We're still doing the normal thing. Uh, that's life though. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. It's warming up. It's getting pretty hot
It
actually.
was a killer today.
Yeah. So luckily we have AC
hmm
and we're chilling.
Pretty much. Yeah. Imagine if we didn't have lockdown still going on. First of all, still going on. And you guys were over at Waves. Uh,
Oh, wow.
their air conditioning is amazing. You
It's
guys would be
it's next
literally
level.
chilling.
It's next level.
Yeah.
It's next level. It's almost too good
Yeah.
at
I
at
remember
times.
I remember the summer that we were doing all of the that we were bringing in all the guests for Best of Three, and
Yeah.
after work I would like hop on the train, go on over to Waves, walk on over, and it was like super super hot, and then right when I got inside I'm like, oh, salvation. And then winter happened, and
Yeah,
winter was a different
like
story. I didn't like walking there in the winter, but
nobody likes that.
nobody likes that. But it was fun.
It's
Yeah,
yeah.
and then once Waves opens up again, I'm sure that's going to be the summer destination. Is it now? Remind me, is it still called Waves?
Waves Gaming, yeah.
Yeah, great,
It
perfect.
is it is called Waves Gaming. Yeah, we just dropped the E.
Got it. Yes, right.
That was a
A
big
welcome
boo-boo.
drop.
Yes.
A
I
welcome
wasn't a
drop.
fan, but we just, quietly removed the E.
Let's just move this to the side a little bit. You just go on over there. It's now at
Yeah.
the end. It's now waves gaminge.
We're French actually,
Yes,
so.
yes, exactly. Oui. Um.
Speaking of French, ooh,
Oh.
Parabellum.
Oh yeah, Paris.
Yes,
Okay.
they are
Rainbow
in
Six. Tell me.
I mean, honestly, there's some news to share. Unfortunately, okay, so we'll start with this. So the boys were able to secure their way to the playoffs,
For those of
which
you
is
who missed
fantastic. They
it,
made it out of groups.
Parabellum has a Rainbow Six Siege esports team going to the R6 Invitational in Paris. Continue.
For sure. So yeah, it was a bit of a nail biter because it was sort of a three-way tie, and it came down to sort of point differentials and stuff like that. But we did end up securing our lower bracket spot.
Nice.
So we're in the lower bracket, and today we were supposed to have our first set of matches, but power went out at the venue.
So there have been some
Yes.
rolling blackouts like kind of all over the world.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's
Oh
that's
man.
weird that I'm hearing that about Paris because like I've been hearing that about places in the US. I've been hearing that about places in China.
Mm.
Whoa, that's
It's a thing. It's going around, I
a little
guess.
scary. Also has to do with well, not doesn't have specifically to do with, but also there is a big kerfuffle happening in the crypto scene. And for those of you who are a part of it, I feel you. I'm right there with you.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
I'm sure.
depending on when people are actually seeing this, it might be a completely different situation, but
Turns around quickly, can
we hope
moves very quickly. Yeah.
makes big moves. Anything going on in the Amuka sphere this week?
Well, yeah, just finishing up with
Please.
Parabellum.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. The game's been rescheduled to 5 a.m. Eastern time. So if
Okay.
you want to watch the game with me, we'll have a watch party, Parabellum
Are you going to
Discord.
be awake
We'll
for
be
that?
there at 5 a.m. Yeah, we will be.
Nice.
For sure. Gotta support. Gotta support. So, catch me there, and if you guys want, yeah,
Where can people catch that?
it's Parabellum's Discord. Honestly,
Mm,
we will have to drop a link because I do not have it off the top of my head.
that's all right. We can get that pretty easily. Cool. I will put that in the description. So for people who are watching us on YouTube, you can go and check the description below. And if you're watching anywhere else, then go and check out the YouTube. It'll be there.
Yeah.
Cool. So today, actually, no.
Okay.
I want to go back. Because we were about to talk about what was going on in Amuga this week. Because you guys, you're at this every day. Till
Oh
this
yeah,
day. You ever seen that meme? Till this day. Till
I
this
haven't.
day. Oh, I got something to show you after this.
You always have something to show me.
Tell me
Uh,
what's going on.
so RSM, we have a summit, content creation summit. It's in partnership with RSMs who provide financial services. So this is going to be a fun one. It's happening on June 8th.
Mm,
So yes. And we are going to be bringing in all kinds of guests, and they will be chatting with our host, Camille.
cool.
So, Camille, yeah, Salazar Hadaway. There we go. That's the one.
Cool.
So
Camille's
she
great.
was this. Yeah, she's great. I love Camille,
She's the
honestly.
best.
Great, and winner of this year's Esports Host Award, or sorry, Esports Host Award at the Canadian Game Awards.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah.
She deserves that. She's oh man, every conversation I have with Camille is always like just a complete game changer. Just her ideas, the way that like her brain works is just so awesome.
And you couple that with like great energy and like just
Yes.
this sort of this vibe is yeah, she's awesome.
One of like easily my top 5 things that I miss about going to live events is chatting with people like her and other hosts and personalities and that kind of stuff. Just like seeing how they tick, that is pretty sick.
Yeah, luckily we were able to keep this going, but like
Yeah.
we don't get to do this a lot with other people anymore. We used to do it on a like a weekly basis.
We used to get somebody new into waves every week,
Yes.
sometimes more than one a week. Well, obviously we wouldn't put them both out at the same time. We would stagger them, but like sometimes like weeks were just packed with me packing up all the equipment, going over to Waves, unpacking all the equipment, repacking the equipment, going out of Waves. Sometimes not even having the time to take it out of my car. It's
Oh, fun times.
yeah.
I miss those times. It seems super hectic now that we've been sort of at home, but I really do miss those times too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, can't wait to get back to some semblance of that. Just kind of seeing people in person again. That'll be really cool. I've been missing that this week in particular. Okay, sorry. So RSM, you were saying?
yes, RSM. Yeah, so it is a summit for content creators who want to know more about just building your community, engaging your community, and then from there, sort of financial and sort of legal topics that could help you. So if you're
Mm.
looking to go that route, turn it into a career, and need some, want to get some more professional information behind it, then yeah, come through and learn something.
So is this for more of like for is this mainly directed to content creators? Is this mainly directed to personalities, competitors?
So it's yeah, it's content creators, streamers, even competitive. There are three different topics there. So the
Yeah.
first topic is on audience and engagement.
Okay.
So yeah, and then monetizing that audience, right? So this, and then the second topic is about the importance of financial knowledge. So we'll tie that into streaming and why it is important specifically for this industry, for this career path. And then the last one, we'll be talking about sort of the legal topics surrounding being a streamer or being signing to an agency or anything of that nature. So,
Understood.
yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
cool. All right. Well, there you go. People can go and check that out. Today, folks, today we are speaking all about the FGC and what I call DCG, which is digital card games, but most people would know it as the TCG. Uh, there's so Alex, you want to intro this topic a little bit? How'd you come across this?
Oh man. I was just flipping through articles, trying to get some ideas on topics and things like
Mm,
that. And obviously, you just come across some stuff and it makes you think. And I came across an article that was talking about Magic the Gathering, and they actually recently Magic the Gathering has dissolved their Magic Pro League.
right.
So MPL was something similar, I want to say, to a closed league system, something more similar to like the LCS or League of Legends esports, as
Okay.
opposed to something that you might see in Counter Strike or something that's a lot more community driven, things like that.
So, I mean, that makes sense. As a community that doesn't necessarily have a budding esports background, you look at what's like most successful. And in this case, most people who are looking at success in esports are looking toward League of Legends, right? So they have their
Riot,
LCS,
what
they have
are you
Riot,
doing,
exactly.
Riot?
What is Riot doing? Emulate, impersonate before you innovate. Um, so they go and make their what's that called? The MCS? No.
So they've dissolved it now. I'm not sure what they're actually going to be doing with their actual
Right.
league. They've put out some vague statements, generally saying that they're going to be supporting more community and local tournaments. That they're not trying to take away any of the money that can be made from playing Magic. They're
Mm.
just sort of diverting their resources, but none of the numbers or anything has been announced yet. So it's sort of unclear what exactly that's going to look like.
So I want to kind of get into why the MTG League didn't work.
Oh,
The problems that it had before it kind of made its uh, what's the word? I guess the reorganization before it took a step back and reevaluated what it was. Um,
mm-hmm.
because again, it looked very, very similar to the LCS in that, you basically cut it down to 32 people competing in the entire world. And so the problems that a lot of people had with that is that like you're dealing with decks, right? Like you're dealing with decks that other people can see, that other people can take from, that other people can practice with. and so the strategy in that is different, very different from League of Legends, because you're not making minute changes every second. You are dealing with the hand that you are given.
Right.
There are very specific things that you can do to influence the game. And over time, that kind of meta gets stale. Like
Mhm.
you go up against people with the same kind of decks. I believe in the MTG League, you had to kind of register your deck at the beginning, and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
no.
definitely.
And it's just a competition of like which deck is played better at that time, which is basically what digital card games are. But but when it comes to the entertainment factor, that's not quite there. As well, there are just inherently lower prize pools because this is a digital card game. There isn't a lot of money to be made on this, much less from Wizards of the Coast.
Well, if they were to be able to boost that entertainment value and boost that viewership, the eyeballs on it, they could have more money coming their way, right? So,
Right, right, and that's true.
yeah.
You're pulling from a very different audience, though. Magic had a very tough time getting off the ground just from the onset because
Mhm.
they were so heavily rooted in the physical card game space. They were killing it in physical card games. They had a huge community, people who
Yeah.
would come out tournaments, multi-thousand-dollar tournaments, just like casually. Uh, but when they tried to make the transition to digital, they had a lot of trouble doing that. They made like, I want to say, two or three different attempts at
Oh,
uh
it's brutal because there's actually two online systems, right?
yes.
There's yeah, Magic Online, I believe it's called, and then there's Magic Arena.
Yes.
So from what I was seeing, Arena is it looks way better. It
MTG
looks a
Arena
lot
is the one
more.
that won. Yeah.
Yes, it's much newer. You get the animations, the audio, the voice lines, the music, like everything. It looks like a modern game. It looks like Hearthstone, not
Yeah.
unlike Hearthstone. And then you go and look at the other system, and it is dated, like it's bare bones. It's and like I don't know why anyone would choose to play that,
Right.
but I had to take a closer look at this because it has a whole bunch of game formats that you can't access on MTG Arena,
Is that
and
right?
that's why so many people cling to the older version because they want to be able to play those formats, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I believe the formats that are available in there, like Commander, maybe something like that, like Legacy, things like that,
Oh,
are at
okay.
least
Yeah.
yes,
So Legacy to me sounds like what Wild is for Hearthstone, which is like stuff outside of the current set.
yes. It's like
Um,
everything,
yeah.
all of the cards you can use except for a select few that are banned.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then there's modern, which would be just
There's an official term
the
for
current.
that I'm forgetting, but it's somewhere there. And card game people, exactly what I'm talking about. There's a standard, and then there's a this. So you can fill your own
Exactly.
blanks and not get mad at me over that. So,
And it's been a while for me too. I think I played standard when I was playing. I only had like a few months stint, and I spent a bunch of money and then sold my cards. But
well, because that's what it was. That's what it was. And so there are two very very distinct comparisons that we can make with Magic. Right? There's like two other games, two other franchises. We've got Pokemon, which is a fellow Wizards of the Coast game, and then we've got Hearthstone, which is a fellow digital card game. Both of which have relatively decent esports elements to them. For Pokemon, which is obviously the one that I'm most familiar with, Pokemon has its video game section and its trading card game section. The trading card game section, I would say, is just as big, if not maybe bigger, than the Magic the Gathering section. That's a hasty comparison. I'm hoping that that's actually true. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But during the pandemic, they actually had to cancel all of their physical spaces, and that is all that Pokemon was. Their video games and their trading card games were both in person. You'd have to go to these locations. You'd have to compete, and there wasn't a decent like online structure built for either of those games. The video game section, like it's online sucks. It's just not very well put together for that. But Trading Card Game has an online client, but it's made by Wizards of the Coast, and it's not good. It's very, very difficult to get your deck on there, to get a like collection of cards together. The UI is clunky. The animations are very childish and doesn't really welcome the same kind of older audience that Pokemon has turned into, at least competitively. But they only had to, they used only that moving forward in the pandemic. So 2020 was all Trading Card Game Online. Right. That didn't work out very well. And now Pokemon's in kind of a rocky place where a lot of people have kind of transitioned out and are having a kind of a hard time coming back in, because obviously they're pushing out new sets and they're assuming that people are going to go out and buy them, but only the real like diehard fans are actually going to do that. It helped last year that Pokemon cards like became a NFT trend, NFT like.
It was even McDonald's and
they're still there. It finally hit Canada.
Yeah, I ended up getting two Happy Meals. Got one for myself and one for my significant other, and I was like, I'm not going to keep going to McDonald's and depriving all these kids of these cards. I will get two. I haven't even opened them yet. We'll see.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, they're fun to get. I think when you're the kind of person who gets like two of them, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. If you're the kind of person who goes to a place and gets 20 of them, I don't like you.
Let me get 20 Happy Meals, keep the food. I just want the cards. Like,
yeah, no, there are kids out there who want to get those. But anyway, I digress. It's like comparing that to Magic the Gathering. Who wants to create a league of that? You really have to make sure that your online section is solid and thriving before you go and try and make a league out of it. You can't jump right into that. If Pokemon did that, it wouldn't get off the ground either. It has enough of a community that it can get tournaments and fill seats, but not enough of a player base who's like knowledgeable about that kind of stuff to get people in there. So that's Pokemon. Hearthstone, on the other hand.
Tell me where Hearthstone's at.
Hearthstone is a little bit of a different beast. Because Hearthstone started as a digital card game. It doesn't have physical. Like, it just never was there. There was a World of Warcraft trading card game, completely different, very different mechanics. Might have been inspired by that, but very, very different community of people who got into that. They had esports down going into Hearthstone. They had StarCraft, they had Warcraft, they had Overwatch, I believe at the time. If not, it came out plus or minus 2 years from Hearthstone. It's close enough that the lines are blurry for me. That they understood what to do, and what they were doing is just offering tournaments and letting people come in. They let people just participate in them. They filled the seats, and they let people just be good at the game. They changed up their sets, and then you play with the new sets. You always play with what's newest. If you're going to offer a new game mode, have a tournament in that game mode. Cool. Battlegrounds was an actual tournament that they had for Hearthstone. Arena, not so much. Duels, 100%. Once the pandemic is lifted and once lockdown is lifted, they will absolutely be having tournaments for duels, if not already having them now, because they weren't really slowed down by the pandemic. They were allowed to.
They started as an online ecosystem, and they had that built out. They
had that infrastructure. The only thing that they didn't have was the sets and the main stage that so much of esports is used to in the pandemic. Before they actually had that. And like, it's such a weird phenomenon that, like, because you don't have lag, because you don't have disconnects and all that as often in Hearthstone tournaments, because it's just 1-to-1, you can have more online tournaments than in-person tournaments, but they still had the in-person tournaments because that is esports. It's the idea of going places and meeting up with the community and being there and experiencing it at the same time.
Well,
But yeah, go ahead.
sorry, what I was going to say is I did love the Hearthstone community, and when we were coming up, probably, maybe 3, 4 years ago, there was firesides everywhere.
Yes.
They were everywhere. There was tons of organizers all over the world for Hearthstone, and we ran into them at different venues, with different communities, and they ran weekly, and we got to see them every week. So
Yeah.
I love to see that kind of support from Blizzard and Hearthstone. They were receiving merch, they were receiving some prizing and stuff to hand out to their community, and all these things. That support is I think one of the cool things I love to see about Hearthstone,
Yeah.
even though I didn't know much about the game itself.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, like to that point, they filled seats. They got people into places. If
Exactly.
Hearthstone wanted to put together a league, they could. They have the infrastructure. They have the funding. They have the tools that they need, the staff even, to go and put that together properly. There's a reason why they don't, and that's because it doesn't matter. What they have already is such a big draw. They can bring people in, get them sitting down, get people playing. That if you're segmenting your audience as your audience of people who can play to X amount of people or XX amount of people, it's going to fail because it's just not going to work. Like you need to have a like open bracket kind of situation. You need to have like a pool kind of situation, group stages. Have just as many people as possible play your game because that's what your game is made for. And then have it whittle down to the top 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1 over time. That'll just happen. You don't need to start people off like that. I also like the way that they do their tournament structures. They have like multiple decks that they come in with, and they get to choose between which deck they want. If they lose with one, they can swap it out, or they can use the same deck that they were just playing with. And sometimes that psychs the opponent out a little bit. They're like, okay, well, I can't play. I don't like playing against their warlock, so I'm going to play with a priest against their warlock, so I have a little bit of an easier time.
Well, just bringing up your previous point about Magic, I believe, yeah, you have to register your deck beforehand, and you have to play the same deck the entire tournament. And you're up against another deck. It's the same game essentially that you're seeing played out again, and it's not as fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a system that needs a lot of work, but I think before that, what Magic needs to do is have those online or in-person meetups and tournaments. If they're trying to get into esports, let's start at the bottom of what it started out as just people getting together and competing, because esports on the main stage is just an offshoot of people getting together at a friend's place, people getting together at a local card shop, which Magic's not, which Magic has had. Magic knows what that was.
Yeah, they're the king of that. They've been going for so long in all of these card shops. What I'm curious about, I wonder if MTG Arena has a mobile app, because mobile would be a pretty interesting way to go.
That's
I'm
a
not sure if
very
they do.
good question.
That's one of the ways that Hearthstone is able to do so well in that space, is because you can access it from any device.
Yes, it is available on Android and iOS.
Oh, okay, great. And as it should be.
As it should be. Yes.
As it should be. So as we talk a little shit about what Magic was doing wrong.
One more point about that, because I'm just gears are turning now. Mobile is great. Hearthstone had a good like 4 or 5 years where it was PC only, and those meetups were still happening, even though there was no mobile app.
Internet cafes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So everyone still gets a PC. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It happened the same way that like anybody would meet up to go and play like Dota or whatever. And I would do that at Waves actually. While I was like sitting around waiting for somebody or doing anything like that, I would just, fire up a game of Hearthstone.
You know what people played in between matches of Dota when we got together?
What?
Hearthstone.
Exactly. Exactly. People like high elo in League and high MMR in Dota as they're waiting in matchmaking. Play a game of Hearthstone.
waiting for people to come back from break or whatever, get a quick game of Hearthstone in. Yeah, I saw it all the time, so it was a popular choice.
Yeah. And so that's that's MTG compared to Hearthstone and Pokemon. But I think what we really want to focus on today is the comparison between MTG and the fighting game community, because a lot of similarities are being drawn between the two. A lot of differences are there, and we're going to investigate those when we come back to the show after the break. Alex, did I cut you off though, right? Was there a point you wanted to say?
Yeah, the point I wanted to say was the point that you're making now.
Ah, well, there you go. Well, we'll investigate the point that we made when we come back to the break, from the break, in just a second. We're on a break. My voice broke.
Yeah, man. Did you hear about Amaranth?
No.
Meta?
No,
Oh
and I'm
man,
going to look that up right now.
she's the very first person on Twitch to get demonetized.
What?
So yeah, she got demonetized. It's
Ow.
something that you like Twitch hasn't done that before. They either ban you or you're monetized, right? If you're
So now they're like, you can keep doing what you're doing, just we're not going to pay you for that?
yeah.
Okay.
So
So
she was supposedly making $1,000 a day on ads
Ah!
on Twitch. That's rude, Mike. Don't laugh
Wow.
at other people's misfortune.
That's not
That's
a
brutal, dude.
misfortune, excuse me.
Yeah. It's
That is a small fortune.
do you know what's absolutely brutal though?
Mm-hmm.
Zero word even after it happened. She had to realize that she was no longer getting revenue and then ask
Oh.
about it. And then they were like, "Oh, it's probably a glitch." And then they were like, "Oh no, it's not. It's this."
Oh, no, it's not. You're just the only one that this applies to.
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
my.
yeah, it's messed up, dude. I think yeah, it's tough. Like I'm not a huge fan of what she does. Generally speaking, like I
Okay.
just yeah, it's not really gaming. I don't know.
No.
It's not that I have, like just go on a different platform that is not gaming. But anyways, um the way that Twitch reacted though with just dropping this bomb out of nowhere and then not even notifying after the bomb dropped is just ridiculous. Like what the hell?
Yeah, that's a little underhanded to not like give notice or anything like that. Uh,
It wasn't even noticed. It happened and then they still didn't tell her.
I if that is what actually went down, that's pretty bad. What I think can always be the case, and that we as people will never know about it because I'm a cynic and I don't always believe things that are face value, is that if I was Twitch and I was going to demonetize like something like that, I would send at least an email. And I can't say that didn't happen just because she said it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I believe that it's a terrible situation, but I wouldn't have done that if I was Twitch. I would probably have sent something. And if I were Amaranth and that happened to me, first thing that I would think is maybe there's an email there. So I'd look for an email. I'd look through my junk. If it's not there, it's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
If it is there and I've already made the push to socials that it's happening and news is picking it up, you can't go back.
you gotta keep it quiet, keep it under. Well,
Yeah.
and it's highly unlikely that Twitch responds to this being like, "We did send her an email."
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just
Right. Although, I mean, could be, right? Like Twitch could absolutely come out and be like, yeah, we notified her. Like,
yeah.
and the fact that they're not saying that kind of skews toward they actually tried to cover it up, but
Yeah.
or didn't try to cover it up, but by actively not talking about it, it's basically like covering it up.
I mean, how would you think that you're gonna hide this from anybody? It's like
Yeah, no.
I think she's she's like top 20 on Twitch or
Oh
something
my
like that. It's like
goodness.
outrageous. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I just
Okay.
yeah, but hopefully hot tub meta is I don't know. People have different opinions about the hot tub meta. They also banned the word hot tub in chats.
No.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
They're really trying to like I feel like they're trying to kill this thing. Like they don't like it. They want it to go away. So like
Which
here,
I
let's see what's
get. I
yeah.
get. Like it's not great for Twitch to start, pushing those kind of lines because eventually you can push it too far.
Well, and it starts to take over. Once
Yeah.
it's that, you can't
It was a
undo that.
wonderful circumvention of their terms of service though.
It definitely was.
Where
Whoever came
Twitch
up with
had
it,
to
who
go
was
to their like we have the right to demonetize you whenever we want a clause. Like
I mean, YouTube does it. It should be something that's kind of standard on these types of platforms.
yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. But like they have that in their terms of service. They're allowed to not monetize you if that's what they want.
They needed that there, and
Yeah,
they exercised it
they
this
exercised it.
time for the
What
first
everyone's
time.
surprised about is that like this is the first time that they've done it.
Yes, yes.
It's like, oh well, if you didn't demonetize this person, why'd you demonetize her? It's like, no,
That's the messed up part, right? It's the what about all the other people? Why
yeah.
just her? Whatever. Yeah, there's
Where
so many
like,
questions.
yes, they need to be demonetized too. Uh, I'm glad it's starting somewhere. Anyway, here we are.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's come back from the break. Let me just mark down what time we've been going here. This is 36:45. Here we go. And we're back. Welcome back to Best of Three. So we're talking about card games, digital card games. The MTG specifically, Magic the Gathering Arena mostly, but there's Magic the Gathering Online. There's been a lot of like you're coming back from a radio show, right? What have what have you missed the first 35 minutes of this thing? No. We're comparing the MTG to the FGC. There are similarities here, there are differences here. There's been a lot of comparison, and I, for one, don't think that it's completely informed. I think that they're doing a lot of comparing apples to oranges in a lot of these situations. Uh,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, I think they're more similar to each other than they are to traditional team-based esports. So
that's
that's sort of
interesting. We're going to explore that.
yeah, that's sort of that's somewhere that I wanted to go with this and sort of look at like how they are similar. Because if you look at it, like all of these single player games, regardless of if they're in person or they're digital first or they're a fighting game, like it's all single player, it's all one on one, and I think those have a lot more in common and a lot more to learn from each other than actually looking at some of the bigger name esports like League of Legends, for example, Overwatch, whatever it may be. Yeah, and the FGC obviously super grassroots, one of the last holdouts to true esports like sort of
Yes.
stardom. Yeah. And I think Magic is very much the same way, you know, where they haven't gone super shiny with it. They haven't packaged it up and prettied it up and turned it into this sort of produced product for the masses.
Right.
It's very much grassroots. It's very real. The community is the community there, and there's no really putting makeup on that.
No. No, that is
Yeah.
very true.
So yeah, I think it's really similar in these ways. And when we were talking about sort of the things that Magic did wrong, I think that they could learn from actually looking at the FGC rather than looking at other like even Hearthstone, because Hearthstone is an online first sort of system.
Okay.
With the FGC and with MTG, they're both super offline. They're based off of offline. Like the fighting game community started in arcades where it was just in person. And Magic, obviously, before computers and everything, people were getting together with physical cards. And I think the sort of like really where they're coming from and their DNA of how these communities are made make them very similar and just uncomparable, uncomparable, and potentially not. Maybe they'll never go full blown esports. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I think it's better off that it stays that way. What are your thoughts here?
Oh man, you know, the physical card game that did it best was the Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon.
Okay.
Was you had your main stage there, you had them play the cards and they would show up on the digital field and whatnot, and it's half a fever dream and also half like there are things that you can do with that. You can put a lot of production value into real life traditional card games. Maybe not the same way as a dual disc, mind you, but you can certainly have a bigger main stage element to your Magic the Gathering. We're talking like your main events, your
Right.
big like yearly crowd funded Magic the Gathering tournaments, which could absolutely happen, and that is done quite seldom in the FGC. Your big tournaments like Evo and whatnot, those have your big main stages and your production value and your hosts and your interviews. And yes, when you sit people down in on that stage against each other, you can have very similar things going on. Um, I think the difference here, though, there's a big difference in community. Um, People who are tight with each other in the fighting game community, they're
Yeah.
very like supportive towards each other's progression, whereas Magic the Gathering and other card games are very much like me first.
Ooh.
Very much I am playing my game, and that's the mentality there, because that's kind of the mentality you have to have. You're always playing your own game. um you're not like, I don't know, you have your strategy going in and then you alter it, which I guess is similar to the FGC. I don't know. Like it just feels so much more selfish. And I say that it sounds like a negative term, but it's not. It's very much like about your own personal growth in Magic and in Hearthstone and all of that.
So do you think it's less, although there is a community, it's less community oriented than the FGC,
Yes. And a
if
lot of that
that
has to do
even
with
makes
the
sense?
fact that, fighting game teams work. And card game teams so far have not really worked all that well. You've
Mm,
got like TSM and Liquid and stuff who like bring on a personality or two, but
for
not
sure.
ever all that many people into one team.
Yeah, no one's building a five, like, like a five roster like Hearthstone team.
Right, but they do
Yeah.
in FGC.
Yes. And there are certain teams that only dabble in FGC, and
Yes.
yes. But I think one of the big similarities that you see in fighting games and in card games, Magic
Mm-hmm.
as well, is like there is so much transferable skill.
Yes.
And like if you look at a fighting game player, yes, they have a main game. Maybe my best game is like Street Fighter 4, but I also play Street Fighter 5, I play Street Fighter 3, I play Street Fighter 2 and Tekken and Soul Calibur and
Guilty Gear
whatever else,
and
right?
Skullgirls. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
this I think it's the same thing with card games is you learn this sort of like these core skills in playing card games. You have some sort of energy or some sort of mana and you have HP of some sort and you have to have strategy. All of these transferable skills. You could once you learn to play Magic, you could learn to play any game, any
Right.
card game at a high level, I believe. So
So is the issue variety?
I think the difference there is with fighting games, I can go to a buddy's house and play a different fighting game.
Yeah.
Realistically, like I can go to weeklies, I can
Mm.
go somewhere, or even I can just spend $60 and play a new fighting game. If I'm playing Magic and I want to like actually play Hearthstone, it's going to cost me a lot more than $60 to get the game.
Well, not only is it going to cost you $60, but uh, the mechanics are super different. When you boil it down, it's just playing with resources. But if you toss somebody in with like a starter deck in Magic, they'll have no idea what they're doing when they don't know the basics of Magic yet. If you don't know the basics of Guilty Gear, you at least know that, you can left, right, up, down. You can press your A, B, Y, X buttons. Your PlayStation controller buttons, doesn't matter. You're able to at least kind of feel it out, even when you don't know what you're doing. So there's that barrier to entry as well. It's hard to pick something up without reading a manual first.
Yep.
Not to mention the updates, the whole idea of ever changing games in Hearthstone and in Magic, actually, and in Pokemon. You have a new gimmick that comes out with every set. You have a new keyword that you need to remember. You have a new type of unit, a breed of unit, or a new item that is released.
That can like structurally change the game,
Yes.
whereas the updates in a fighting game would be more minute. I guess I see your point there. It's not fundamentally changing the core.
You're changing hitbox sizes. You're changing damage calculations.
Frame rates, whatever.
Frame rates, yes. So I think that the way that it functions is very much like you need to be dialed into your game, because if you take a 3-month break from Magic, it will be completely different the next time you look back at it. So
that's how I feel about Dota.
Right.
Even in a game like that, if I take it through, like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Where am I at?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's weird, isn't it? That like the same mentality is taken with Dota and League and whatnot, where they change it up so often that if you look away for long enough, it will be a completely different game. But the esports element of it just does not fall as hard to that. It doesn't fall prey to that. And people still are able to get into the game. Whereas Magic can come out with a really bad set and it will drop off like crazy.
Oh. So, okay, interesting. So you're saying a bad patch update will affect sort of these other games less than a bad set for Magic. Yeah, because you just ruin the meta, and then that's the meta for the foreseeable future. And then, interesting.
It's also that it's a spectator sport for the people who play that game. Like, you go into the FGC, you go and watch Evo, and there's Dragon Ball Fighters on screen. You don't know how to play Dragon Ball Fighters, but you sure do know that when Goku fires that Kamehameha, you are all in. You are jumping up with the rest of the audience because it connected to Cell.
Exactly.
What you don't know is that when you don't know Magic and you're watching a game of Magic, somebody slaps down a Planeswalker on your field, on their field, and it does their effect. You don't know what that means.
Yes, it's very deep on a viewership level, very different than fighting games.
Yes.
I'll give you that one.
People who play it love it. People who know what's going to happen and what's going on, they're into it. But it's not a very noob friendly sport. And that goes for all of the fighting games, and that goes for
that goes
kind
for
of League of Legends, I guess.
Any esport.
Yes and
Ultimately,
no.
when you're getting to a high level, it's just like everything is not noob friendly. I guess there are some more than others, if you want to put it that way. Like Rocket League makes sense, super straightforward,
Yes.
or like even simpler, FIFA, super straightforward.
Oh yeah. NBA 2K, like it's all on how spectator friendly things are. Like Dota and League are spectator friendly from an aerial point of view. You can tell that when the map is starting to skew toward the corner, that the team with the bigger advantage wins. The team who has like the most map coverage kind of wins. To somebody who doesn't know what's going on with the heroes, they can at least feel out that one team is losing and one team is winning. With COD, a little bit tougher. With CS:GO, a little bit tougher, but you know that when one guy falls down to the ground and he's out, that's a win. That's
It's
pretty good
over.
for the
It's
other
over.
person. Hard
Hmm.
in Magic. You can see when life totals are going down. You can see when board state has changed, but hard to tell where momentum is, because momentum is like all that matters in these card games.
Okay, so you pointed out some differences. Like, obviously, they're not exactly the same, but I think they're similar enough. I mean, they're both better played on LAN. They, probably require some sort of good internet connection if you want to play, but online play is poor.
Mm-hmm.
They're really grassroots community that's it's like very real, and hasn't sort of sold out yet, if you want to call it that.
That's true.
My question to you is this: Why are those two games sort of it looks like they're sort of the few that are holding out from really selling out to be this glamorized esport? Why do you think that is? What makes them different from Counter-Strike or from League of Legends or whatever else?
I don't think it's been from a lack of effort. I think there have been moments where Magic has wanted to try to get into esports, and this is no different, right? Where they tried to make their own league because people have been asking for it for a long time. I think they wanted to keep it as in person as possible, in person physical card games as possible. They have very big ties with a lot of major card retailers and a lot of
Yes.
like game shops, and to some that was enough to having like that kind of grassroots uh fun for the whole family kind of situation. Like there were like tournaments where people were bringing their kids and like getting their kids into
Definitely.
Magic and whatnot, and like it's wholesome, it's cool. um I think the pandemic might have changed a lot of that. I think the fact that people were home and practicing a lot more than they thought they would be is drumming up a lot of demand for more competition when we get back. Uh,
Mhm.
I
It's just
also
getting pent
think
up and bottled.
pent up and bottled or lost, because then there's the other side of
Oh,
that where people were stuck at home for 2 years, for well a year and a half, and they weren't able to go to these card shops, and so they found other hobbies and they found other things to do. And so
right.
in order to bring people back, they're giving the opportunity for those who are actually good at Magic to now show off what they have and show off that they're actually good at the game, with money behind it. So I don't know. I think that's kind of the impetus behind it, but
Mm.
it's also kind of the natural progression of where everything is going. Everyone's trying to gamify and show that they're the best at what they're doing, and Magic has just been a long time coming with this. Uh, it's just
Very
such a
long time.
weird situation that like Magic can't quite get it right on the first try with anything.
Well, I mean, what's curious to me, it looks like they do in person very well, and they're having trouble doing anything but that.
Yes.
They
Yes.
they do the casual side, the community side, like the card shops, all of that, the weekly stuff, but to like actually turn it into a competitive experience beyond sort of get-togethers every week and smaller sort of tournaments, it seems like they have a lot of trouble
Mm-hmm.
in a more organized effort. So,
This is also card games in general, though. Like, card
well,
games have the
okay,
same issue where well, it in the spirit of card games, they start with a base set and then they iterate on that and they iterate on that and they iterate on that. It's exact same with what they're doing with esports. They start with a base idea and then they iterate on that and then they iterate on that. And then we get a 32 person MTG league, and that doesn't work. So they iterate on that, and they have more of what they're doing right now. Eventually, they'll get there. If they're doing it, eventually they'll get there because they have the backing, they have the time, they have the money. I think
so
it's just not working right now.
but I think this is one thing that's really hurting Magic and sort of it's helping the FGC when I sort of said that
Mm.
Magic maybe should look over to the FGC a little bit more. When you go to an FGC event, they play like 11 games. Like there's like 11 games going on, maybe more, like like 20 games. Um, you could have Street Fighter there, you could have multiple Street Fighters there, Tekken, whatever other game, fighting game, and people will enter multiple tournaments
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and with that sort of crossover of skill. And I think with card games, there is enough sort of interest, and maybe this alludes back to sort of all that me first mentality that you were talking about. But if fighting games could, or sorry, if card games could sort of get their act together and sort of cooperate, they could have events that have Magic, that have Yu-Gi-Oh, that have Pokemon, and turn it into like something bigger, something more large scale, right? With a more blanket umbrella interest in card games, in trading card games.
Yes,
Yeah,
I actually very much agree with that. I think if there was collaboration between Wizards of the Coast and other card game owners, I'm pretty sure that Yu-Gi-Oh is not Wizards. No, it is not. Uh, Yu-Gi-Oh owner. I don't know who owns it. Oh, it's Konami. Of course, it's Konami. That's gonna be tough. But there's a lot of card games that Wizards does, right? Like there's the Pokemon trading card game.
right.
There's Magic the Gathering. Obviously, but after that, it gets into like novelty stuff. Like you've
Of
got
course,
Harry
yeah.
Potter trading card game. You've got Codename Kids Next Door. You've got NFL, NBA, MLB showdowns. Xeno Warrior Princess is a trading card game. Neopets is a trading card game. Netrunner is another one. If they could get just even those three to coordinate properly, the Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, and Netrunner, you can have a pretty solid, and they might even be doing this and we just don't know about that,
That's possible as well.
but it'll be much easier for people to get behind it if there's collaboration between other card game companies. um and that's kind of what sucks too, is it's like it's all put together by the card game companies, these major tournaments.
Right.
uh we have like Evo, which is now owned by Sony, and all of these other major uh people and conventions and whatnot who will put together these tournaments, these card game tournaments, but they're usually sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. They're usually sponsored by Konami, and they will only have those. If we could just have all of them in the one place, then perfect. And
I
that's
mean,
great.
and again, looking if the Magic or Wizards of the Coast was looking to the FGC, they'd see that there are so many tournaments run that are community backed, that are
Yeah.
not sponsored in any way by the developer, and that it sort of helps out in that way to just let the community do their thing. And if you really want to see a prime example of what the community can do without developers, it's Smash Melee,
Oh,
right? And that's like a really big example. But yeah, I think
which is also so interesting because I also think that Nintendo is part of the problem when it comes to
they are.
collaboration. Is like Nintendo is so protective over their IP that I can only
Mhm.
imagine that Wizards of the Coast would have problems saying yes to a Wizards Konami crossover, because Pokemon is owned by Nintendo, obviously, and they would say no to probably even tournaments that involved Magic, much less
uh,
like a third, fourth party. I don't know. Like there's so many hands in so many pockets here, and
yes.
like very obvious hands in obvious pockets, that it's such a strange world, the trading card community.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, those are sort of the ways that I can see Magic sort of getting some Wizards of the Coast, getting some ideas, some inspiration from the FGC, and
Yeah.
take a better step in the esports direction. But still, if you compare the FGC, even Smash Brothers fighting games, to other esports, they're also at a very far pace from that as well. So
Yeah.
um, it's just. Yeah, I don't know if fighting games will ever get to the level of sort of these, $3 million tournaments or a $30 million Fortnite World Cup. Like, I don't know that it'll get there. And, I is that due to how much money the game makes? Is that due to it being mostly on console, and not PC? Is it like a sort of a financial you know, um,
Is there
sort of
sponsorship
thing?
buy-in problems? Like,
No,
it's easier to
sorry.
sponsor a team than it is to sponsor a single person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As an activation, if I'm a sponsor looking to activate my brand, I five people who come together and practice all the time and
Yes.
do this, it's a lot more attractive than one person who is sort of off alone.
It's easier to collaborate with a game that is actively promoting collaboration than it is to collaborate with a game that is actively promoting single person growth and
Yes.
single person victory.
And that's where I think if you look at a tournament, at a weekly tournament, and you're like, wow, like 15, 20 people showed up for this
Yeah.
weekly tournament, it's a lot of entrants. That's a very good tournament to have. If you're looking at a 20 person, CS:GO tournament, that's only four teams.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you need more people to be able to play properly. That sort of propels more people to get involved.
I know we often try not to compare esports to traditional sports, but I think this is the easiest
Mm,
transition that we've ever been able to make. Uh, if you look at, say, basketball, basketball is the League of Legends. Soccer is your Dota. I would say tennis is your trading card games. Or no,
Box,
tennis is your fighting games. Tennis is your back and forth, action, action,
right,
action, test of physical skill. Uh, Chess is your fighting game, your trading card games,
right, right. Okay, okay, I see this.
and that even in traditional sports is a niche within sports, and it's rarely ever on the big main stage and like majorly televised or anything like that. It's usually on your like TSN 2s that you'll be able to see like a championship or a chess championship or something like that, where people are using their big brains to actually
Noggins.
play.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know. I think it will always have an audience. It's just I don't see it hitting that fever pitch of bringing in just random people who don't already care about trading card games.
So what about the FGC?
FGC is flashy. FGC uses characters and IP that you're already familiar with. So
But when are they going to hit that sort of like this is like they've entered the esports, like the full blown esports stage,
production
like
value,
its production value?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that yeah, that answer just kind of comes naturally. It's if you make something that people will watch, it doesn't matter what they're doing, right? Like I think
Maybe it's
Hearthstone's a
hard
great
to.
example of a game that could have been a physical card game with just a lot of mechanics and weird RNG that wouldn't translate very well. And I think it would have been worse. But they were able to make something that looks clean, that has like fantastic looking animations, that like just people can watch. And I think it's a major barrier that they just kind of smashed right through.
Mm. Yeah, the Hearthstone is really the best of both worlds. They're
Golden
standing.
standard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're sitting in the middle. They are esports. They are niche though.
And
It,
they are
it is.
not the perfect game. It is not the perfect game. Hearthstone
Oh no,
has a big set of problems, but it is the best digital card game for spectators. It is the best, easiest to pick up for somebody who hasn't played it before.
and it looks like our hour is up,
Our
and
eyes up.
I just I wanted to. We didn't even I didn't even get to bring up auto battlers.
Oh,
Yes, another single player game, and yeah, but um,
Okay. Lightning talk about auto
Lightning Talk,
battlers. Go for it.
auto battlers. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think they have hit that fever pitch that you were talking, especially TFT. It is a full blown esport. It is huge. It is out there. It is mainstream, and a lot of people play this game on top of their other Riot games.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And I mean, we can compare that to Hearthstone quite a bit too. Can't quite compare it to Magic because Hearthstone is an offshoot of World of Warcraft, which was another majorly successful game, mind you. And League of TFT is a big offshoot of League of Legends. Different formats, but same characters. People can get attached to them. People can, use their favorites just like they did in their main game. Magic, not so much. Magic is off of Magic.
their own lore, their own story, their own IP,
Yes.
everything.
Now, I think that the success of the offshoot always has to do with the merit of the offshoot itself. TFT succeeded because it was a very solid game. Hearthstone succeeded because it was a very solid game. League of Legends had another offshoot, Legends of Runeterra. Didn't do well. That's gone. That's
Is it gone?
I don't know, actually.
It's dead game.
It's dead game to me. It's definitely not talked about nearly as much as TFT, even by Riot themselves, even in the League of Legends client. You'd expect them to try and push it a little bit more. You don't see it at all. Yeah, Magic will always just be Magic unless they're promoting their other card games like Pokemon or Netrunner or Xena Warrior Princess.
Is is that the one with Lucy Lawless? Is
I
this?
don't actually know. I don't actually know. I
All
couldn't
right,
tell you.
all right. This is just a reminiscence now.
Well, because they make so many things. Wizards of the Coast. They're not focusing on their esports. They've got board games out there. They've got a Magic the Gathering board game as well.
They do. Oh, they do a lot of other things. Okay.
Yeah, they have online games.
Okay.
Their Magic is their online stuff. They have role playing games. They do Dungeons and Dragons.
And I think really the biggest differentiator between, and I'm gonna say, if I'm just gonna round it up and put something out there, it's that fighting games, Smash Brothers, Street Fighter, and Magic the Gathering, these things, what do they have in common and what's different from, the other big esports games? They're from the past.
Mm.
They're old. And this is the new age.
Right.
They're built in new. You know what I mean? Counter-Strike, yes, it's old, but it's not as old as Street Fighter.
Right.
And that started, it was born in the arcades and it was born in a different time, and I think it just doesn't translate over ultimately. And it's just the foundation of what it is.
Right.
It was made for something else. So
Best of luck to Magic, though. I would love to see that format succeed. I want them to find a good one. I want to help them find a good one just by talking about it and keeping it in people's ears and minds with you. So I really, really hope that they make strides, because Magic's a great game. Really expensive to pick up, but oh boy, once you've done it, it's good.
yeah, it's one of those addictions, just right into the veins right here.
Yes. Yep. All right. And with that, that's going to be the end of Best of Three, our most rambliest episode ever.
Oh yeah. This was a rambly one, but a good one. I enjoyed this conversation, and yeah, if you guys also enjoyed, yeah, please drop a like, please subscribe or comment, let us know what you think about our takes. Do you have a different take? Were we wrong? Were we right? Let us know.
Alex, where can people find you?
They can find me here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. or on Twitter at Crispy Kim with a K.
Sweet. You can find me where you find your people at Still Just Mike, either Instagram or Twitter. Reach out. Let me know what you think about online card games or even physical card games. Do you find that the barrier to entry, with being cost for the physical card games, is a big problem when it comes to competing? Is that a big pay to win problem? even in online, sometimes there's a big paywall behind those as well. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. Anyway, you can find the podcast wherever you find your podcasts, at Best of Three. Shoot us an email, shoot us a line, shoot us a tweet, all that good stuff, and we will see you next week.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
everybody.
everybody.